Town to your town. This is the Beantown Beatdown.
Beantown Beatdown.
That's right. I'm Matthew Burris, along with my boy Gabe Shamus.
Gabe Shamus here, also from Beantown. Cheers. What'd you get us for today?
Strawberry ale from Reds.
Awesome.
Exactly. And let's get into some headlines. First and foremost, Bellator last night. Melvin Manhoef got knocked the fuck out by Alexander Shlemenko.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And, Shlemenko just hit him with a spinning back fist in the second round, and the elbow just caught him right on the air, and Manhoef went night-night. His eyes...
Really?
Yeah, as Manhoef was falling down, his eyes was closing, and then he just went boom. And then Shlemenko finished him off with a punch right there, but he didn't even have to do that.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I like what you said before. You were all like, he was like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the way he looked.
Pretty much just like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And, let's see. And now in 2 weeks, they're going to do the British Invasion fight for Bellator. And
what's British Invasion about?
It's where the British fighters, Lethal, I forget his name, who he's fighting, but there's also going to be Michael Venom Page, MVP. He's fighting on the card as well. He's fighting against an American.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Daly, he was originally supposed to fight Douglas Lima for the welterweight title, but I guess Douglas Lima got injured or whatever, and now replacing him with a guy named Santos. And, of course, the super fight at the heavyweight division between Czech Congo and King Mo Mohamed Lawal. And last but not least, in the main event, Emmanuel Newton putting the light heavyweight title on the line against Liam. I forgot the last name, but I'll have
good old Liam.
Yeah, but I'll have more for you in the next time we do the show, and it should be a good fight. England versus America. Hopefully, we can kick their British asses.
Exactly. Get the Union Jack back where it came from.
Oh, yeah. Also, another headline, Ronda Rousey is in the new issue of Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. Yeah, she's in the swimsuit edition this year. She's the first female MMA fighter to do it. And I actually,
fascinating.
Yeah, I went to Barnes & Noble's last night, the one at the Prudential Center.
Yeah.
Back Bay Mall. And she looked good.
Yeah?
Yeah, she looked good. Almost as good as the other models that were in there. There was Christy Teigen, who is John Legend's wife. There was Chanel Iman. She was in there as well. And there were some other models I couldn't remember. But there was also, they had that one model, the plus size one that everyone was talking about.
Oh, yes, that was all over the news, which is
she
also
looked
interesting.
Oh, yeah, looked awesome. And, Ronda Rousey, I mean, things have really been looking up for her, with all those fights in Strikeforce and the UFC being in the women's bantamweight champion, she's got the acting role. She's going to be in the next Fast and Furious movie.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, she was in Expendables. She's going to be in the Entourage film. She just needs to keep it up,
Right.
I mean, hopefully she can when she takes on Kat Zingano on February the 28th. Because one loss, I mean, that could be the end of everything. Could go away. The movie roles, the magazine covers, all that could go away. But Ronda, hopefully Ronda can win. I mean, I don't see anybody beating her anytime soon. But that fight with Kat Zingano, that's going to push her to 5 rounds. It's not going to be an easy armbar submission win, just like most of her fights.
Well, we talked before about like The Rock and how he was big, and I remember the days that was one of the few things I knew about wrestling. You smell what The Rock's cooking.
Yeah.
So like I mean, did he ever have trouble in the ring, like as he was starting to do his acting?
No problems, except the fans started like booing him again because they felt like he's a sellout and stuff like that, and then he went back to being a villain, just and and then eventually he went back to being a good guy when he was not working as much and when he made his appearances and stuff. So, but universally, everybody still loves The Rock. And,
right. I'm just wondering. You say that she'd have trouble with like the whole movie career and whatnot if she was to start losing. And
well, yeah,
I don't think we would have held The Rock to that standard, or maybe we would have. I don't know.
Yeah, because wrestling is entertainment and stuff, and this is a real sport, and
right.
And plus, when you're in a position like she is, there's always somebody waiting and willing to take your spot. So you got to be at the top of your game.
Right.
Commitment to excellence.
Totally.
Exactly. So go pick up Sports Illustrated if you can. I don't know. The swimsuit edition, of course. I know that's not your thing.
But, not necessarily, no.
Yeah, but for me, oh baby. And also, of course, it's already been out there in the news, but Premier Boxing Champions is going to be debuting March 7th on Saturday. It's going to be debuting on NBC. NBC is going to be having their first primetime boxing match in a long time. The last one was in 1985, Larry Holmes versus Carl the Truth Williams. I looked it up on when they were talking about it.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know,
very long time. Yeah,
for those of you who don't know, boxing Premier Boxing Champions, actually it's called Premier Boxing Champions, is it's being funded by Al Hammond, who's the manager of Floyd Mayweather. He got Floyd
Mayweather.
Yeah, the $1 billion contract for Showtime, and now he's brought some of the some of the fighters because some of them worked for Golden Boy, and then when the Mayweather promotions and Golden Boy thing, when they stopped collaborating, then Al Hammond took some of the fighters with him, and so it's not only going to be on NBC, but it's also going to be on Spike TV.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know who's going to do the broadcasting on Spike, but as far as NBC goes, I know it's going to be Marv Albert is going to be there. Good old Marv Albert from the NBA on NBC. He actually did some boxing commentary for NBC back in the day, too, in the 80s and early 90s. And, of course, the king of the Fab Four, the Four Kings, whatever you want to call him, Sugar Ray Leonard.
Sugar Ray Leonard. Oh,
yeah, awesome. Leonard's going to do some, he's going to be doing some commentary as well. And that's actually good for Leonard because Leonard did some commentary in the 80s for ABC Sports, on boxing and HBO boxing, and then did a little for ESPN as well. And so who better to call the fights with Marv Albert than Sugar Ray Leonard?
Right, totally.
And on that debut, it's going to be taking place live at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. The main event, Robert the Ghost Guerrero versus Keith Thurman. And on the undercard of that, John Mulaney Jr. versus Adrian the Problem Broner, a.k.a. Mini Mayweather. Yeah, because he's like because him and Floyd are friends, and just like Floyd, he's flashy, he rides the expensive cars, he's flashing out money too, and I love Adrian Broner too, man. I mean, Broner is a wonderful fighter, and he's already won titles at the featherweight division, super featherweight. Featherweight, lightweight, and welterweight. Right. And went down to super lightweight. So hopefully, if he wins this match, he'll probably get a shot at the winner of Garcia and Peterson, which will take place on the 27th, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, the 27th, I believe. I'll check again. But it's good for Spike TV because Spike TV, they're going to be having a whole lot of fights on Friday nights now, Yeah, and now it's becoming the home of combat sports now. You got Bellator, mixed martial arts, you got Glory Kickboxing, and now you got boxing on there. So
you got a lot going on.
Yeah, so I know where I'm going to, come springtime, I know where I'm going to be Friday nights. Friday nights, I'm going to be at home, maybe maybe not drinking, because I'm still on my diet, and in fact, this is going to be the last time for a while I drink on the show or any place. So I'm enjoying it now.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, no, it should be a good fight, and who knows? I might even have a fight party, and you can come watch it.
Definitely.
Oh yeah. And now we're gonna get into the blast from the past. And this is a very special blast from the past because 25 years ago, February 11th, 1990, James Buster Douglas shocked the world by knocking out Iron Mike Tyson. And we've talked about this a little bit, and
Yes.
And that was something that nobody had ever saw coming. And of course, when you look back at it now, and hindsight is 2020, you really could have seen it coming because. By 1990, Mike Tyson, he was going through some problems, outside the ring. I mean, he was, he was getting divorced from Robin Givens. There was the, leaving Clayton, Bill Clayton, and going with Don King. And, and then, of course, leaving Kevin Rooney, who was his manager when he turned pro. And then for a while, and after Cuss died and won the title with him, the last fight they worked together was the Michael Spinks fight.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. And even though Mike Tyson had won some fights with, against Frank Bruno and Carl the Truth Williams, by that time, Mike Tyson had kind of like lost a little bit of his edge in the boxing ring, even though he was winning fights. Like he wasn't moving his head much on defense because. Back in the early days, when Mike would duck and all, it'd be like,
yeah,
like he was super fast, but
yeah, I always thought of him that way.
Yeah, he was, but after he left Rooney, it was more like when you could hit him with a jab and stuff, you could time it now, and also he wasn't going to the body as much, and he became a headhunter. He just kept looking for one shot to knock him out with, and it started to affect him.
Yeah.
This is the fight that really started to affect him. And with Buster Douglas, Buster Douglas was just supposed to be a stepping stone, supposed to be just a quick payday because by that time Holyfield had just moved up into the heavyweight division after, fighting in the light heavyweights and cruiserweights. And they were originally supposed to fight, but nothing was coming through. So Tyson's camp just thought, okay, let's fight this guy, Douglas in Tokyo, Japan. Get a quick payday, 1 or 2 rounds, knock him out, and then we can get ready for Holyfield.
Right.
And Tyson wasn't doing much training over there, too, in Japan. He even said so himself, he wasn't doing much training. He was just spending some time with some women over there and mostly having a good time, And with Buster Douglas, I mean, Douglas had fought for the title once back in '88 against Tony Tucker, and he lost to Tucker, or I think that was '86. Sorry, we're in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, just a second. All right, keep going.
And Douglas had an 8-fight winning streak before fighting Tyson, and he went in there and he gave Mike Tyson a boxing lesson, man. He whooped his ass.
Yeah.
He actually closed Tyson's left eye. By the end of the fight, Tyson's eye looked like it was as swollen as an egg.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And, of course, everyone talks about the controversial knockdown in the 8th round where Tyson hit Douglas with that one big uppercut, and there was a slow count. And it did kind of look slow, but, there's no instant replay in combat sports. You want instant replay, go to the NFL.
Right.
And Douglas came on in the 9th round, came back, put Tyson on the ropes, bam, 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 bam. And then going into the 10th round, Douglas, jab, 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 and hit Mike with that big uppercut, bam, and then landed some combinations, and then boom, Tyson went down. That was the first time Mike Tyson had ever been knocked down, ever. And he could have gotten up, because if you look at the fight, Tyson was like on the ground, and his mouthpiece was out. And he was reaching for the mouthpiece. And, and then when he got the mouthpiece finally in his mouth, he got to one knee. He was, dazed. And then finally went to 10. Referee was like, nah, you're out. And that was over. And Buster Douglas, he shocked the world, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still look at that fight and I'm like, and I go like, if he had, I mean, granted, Mike still would have gotten knocked out, but I'm like, dude, forget about the mouthpiece, it's like
Right.
just get up and because when you get up, because in boxing or in combat sports, period, you get your mouthpiece knocked out, the referee will call like time, let you go to the corner, and they'll give you time for your corner man to put the mouthpiece in. Yeah, and of course, and people say that this was sort of the beginning of the end for Mike Tyson because even though he had like 4 fights after that and was back in good form.
Right.
Then came the rape allegations and and stuff, and then the ear biting incident with Holyfield and stuff.
I wondered when the ear biting came then.
Yeah, that was years later. But well, I kind of go back and forth. I mean, I think in his personal life that was sort of the beginning of the end, but I think professionally in the ring, what was really the beginning of the end for Tyson was the first fight with Holyfield when Holyfield TKO'd him. But Buster Douglas unfortunately didn't last long. First title defense, he fights Evander Holyfield. Holyfield knocks Douglas out, and that was sort of the end for Buster Douglas for a while until he came back in '96 for a short period of time. So, but it's still 25 years later to this day, still the greatest upset in boxing history because Mike Tyson at that time was considered undefeated. And his cornerman, during the fight, like, they didn't have an inswell, which is something that you put over your eyes and, to help, clear your eyes and stuff to prevent swelling. And they didn't have that. So what they did was they put ice water in a glove and made it look like a balloon and just held it over his eye.
Oh, that must have looked like something.
Yeah. And, Tyson's corner was Jay Bright, who did work with Cuss, with Tyson and Cuss back in the day, but he wasn't much of a trainer. He was only known for, like, sparring with Muhammad Ali one time. And there was Aaron Snowell, who at the time wasn't that known as a trainer, but later on went on to become a good trainer and stuff. He actually was in Camacho's corner when Camacho fought Julio Cesar Chavez. So he was basically just, Tyson didn't really have a cornerman. He didn't have good guys in his corner. I mean, he later on had some other guys like Richard Giacchetti kind of put him back on track. And also later worked with Tommy Brooks and Ronnie Shields. But, of course, everyone will tell you hands down his best was when he was with Rumi. Exactly. But still one of the best fights ever to go down. Shocking upset. It's it always happens in boxing. That's why they say in boxing anything can happen.
Is that one of the things that you like about boxing that you look for?
Yeah, unless it's a fighter that I like. I mean, trust me, when Tyson lost that fight to Holyfield, man, I cried like a baby when I was a kid. Yeah. Oh yeah, I did. So I mean that's a Cinderella story, man. I mean, you see it in NCAA basketball. You see it in almost every sport.
Right. Totally.
Exactly. Always root for the underdog. So, that's what happened. And now here's my rant of the day. And we actually talked a little bit about this when we did our first video podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you have your thing when I say this, and I know this might offend some women, but what the hell. It's the pussification of America. And it's no more in American sports. I mean, you see it in Little League and in high school, the whole, everybody's a winner, everybody gets a trophy. But and also in professional sports, it sucks as well. I mean, because, you can't, in the NFL, I mean, as it's nicknamed, the No Fun League. You can't dance you can hardly dance in the end zone. Teams can't dance in the end zone. You can't, or that thing where they used to dunk over the goalpost. They used to, they slam dunk in the goalpost when they scored a touchdown. You can't do that. You can't trash talk.
Is that an actual rule about the end zone spikes and the dunking?
Yeah, something like that, but, and And they just take
kind of strange of all the things to like
yeah
focus in on.
yeah, and nowadays in today's society they just expect athletes to be perfect and proper and blah 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 blah. Like last year's when Richard Sherman, he did that when they won to go to the Super Bowl. He was like, "I'm the best quarterback of the game," and all that stuff.
Right.
And then he had to come out and apologize. It was a phony apology. There's nothing wrong with an athlete saying, "Hey, I'm the best, and I don't like that other guy." Our society today could not have handled Muhammad Ali. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, Muhammad Ali, Deion Sanders, Jalen Rose, they could not handle these guys in our generation today. It's a good thing they came in at a different generation. Because Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time. Always saying, I'm the greatest. I'm knocking out all bums and all this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
We've
all seen the movie. It's a very good movie.
Oh yeah, the movie Ali with Will Smith. And nowadays, they would make a villain out of him because the boasting and stuff like that. Look at what they're doing with Floyd Mayweather. Because whenever they do like a countdown to his fights or Showtime Access or whatever, they always show Mayweather at his mansion. He's got the Bugattis and all the other cars, his private jet, and sipping champagne, going to the strip clubs, making it rain, walking with his entourage, and people look at that and go like, "Oh, he's so arrogant. Oh, he's show off and the bling, and stuff like that."
Right.
They make a villain out of him out of that. Half of it is jealousy. But hey, but you know what? He earns his money. Right. He earns his money by winning. Right. He earns it by winning. If Mayweather back then at a different time, it would be more acceptable. Because he's a rock star. But nowadays, it's it's considered bad, and we have to bring class to the sport and stuff like that. Or with Barry Sanders when not Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders. Remember when he would go into the touchdown, he'd be like, "Prime time, prime time."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Deion Sanders was cool.
Right. I don't know why they wouldn't expect athletes not to boast. That seems like that's like part of it, right? I don't know. I can understand the sort of. I do sometimes agree with the there should be a little bit of a better image than the throwing the money around and whatnot, but because he's not actually a rock star. Rock stars are rock stars, but. But yeah, in terms of not boasting or not dancing in the end zone, that's what makes it fun. That's what puts a little extra into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I have a cousin, Kenneth Jones, who's one of the assistant coaches over at MIT. Hey Ken, what's up? And one time, like a couple of years ago on Thanksgiving Day, we were talking about Victor Ortiz and from the New York Giants, who does like the cha-cha dance.
Yeah,
where he goes in there, and then my cousin Kenny's like, you gotta act like you need. They always say this in football, like they'll like act like you've been there before.
Right.
Yeah, my cousin, he's like, well, he needs to act like he's been there before. I'm like, well, Ken, it is part of his heritage. He's half Puerto Rican. And he goes like, even still, they always say that. The no dancing or another thing that really gets on my nerves is the don't run up the score. You see that in basketball and football, especially in high school and stuff. They say, don't run up the score. It's like, no. You're supposed to, if you got a team down, you keep them down. Okay? You got to keep them down. Look at Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, the Bulls back in the day when they were winning championships. You think right. They ever said, hey, let's back off. We already beat them? No, they would run up the score. Or the Dallas Cowboys from the 90s. Or your 49ers.
My 49ers, exactly.
Yeah, Montana and... let's see, Montana, Sanders, Ken Norton Jr. played there for a while too.
Right,
and, No, not Randy Moss. Oh, Ray Rice. No, Rice.
Rice.
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice, yeah.
Yeah, Jerry Rice. Yeah, I mean, they would run up the score.
Right, totally.
Yeah, you know, and it's so ridiculous. And you know what? I gotta. Let me tell you a little something. And this also goes to my cousin Ken too. And Ken, I love you. You know, I love you. We're family and all. But let me tell you a little secret. Psst, come here. Let me tell you a little secret. If you want to stop them from taunting in the end zone or from running up the score, here's what you do. Play fucking defense, you assholes!
Oh, lordy.
Play fucking defense!
That was a Jon Stewart type setup right there.
Actually, I was thinking more of Jim Carrey from Liar Liar.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah. Stop breaking the law, assholes! Exactly. That's what you gotta do.
Right.
You know, but once again, it's the pacification of America, Gabe Shamus. But there is some good things about the pacification of America. You know, there's
I was about to say there.
yeah, you know, like you said in our first video podcast, you know, you have to learn to live in this world. You have to cooperate. You have to learn to negotiate. You have to be somewhat educated. Plus, it helps getting a girl much nicer. Got to throw that in there because it's Valentine's Day.
Exactly. Yes.
So that's what you have. But for the most part, it just absolutely sucks. So, well, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say that you know, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring more aspects of what's happening in our society, and I think in our society, a lot of these things that you some of these things that you talk about are actually really important and really good things. Like I said, making women more violent and, you know, and able to defend themselves is great, and you know, making men more cooperative and, you know, understanding is also a very important part of it. You know, so I think, you know, yeah, I guess I don't agree with the everyone gets a trophy thing, but I do think that we should examine how competitive we're getting and what it actually brings us in the end. You know, I think if you bring that competitiveness to business or to life, then that's where a lot of problems happen. So I don't know. I think that there's two different sides of that. I already said I'm in complete defense of dancing in the end zones and spiking the ball, that type of stuff. But yeah, and again, you know, call it what you will, pacification. You know, I think does still have that ring of machoism, but that's okay.
Yeah, and even in you know, even with you know, because we were talking earlier about Mike Tyson. I mean, today, you know, people wouldn't go for Mike Tyson's like trash talking. I mean, like, not that. I mean, some boxers do trash talk and stuff, but you know, Mike Tyson, man, he said some off the wall some stuff. Like, I remember, like, for the rematch with Razor Ruddock, you know, they did the press conference thing, and you know, he's wearing sunglasses, you know, he's dressed like a hitman, and Razor Ruddock goes, "Hey, you know, I don't come out there looking like a, you know, like a hitman. You know, look at you, you got no class." And Mike Tyson said, "Okay, you know, you're in trouble." He says, "On June the 19th, I'm gonna make you my girlfriend." Yeah, you know, and they'd be like, you know, they would be like, "What? Whoa, make him his girlfriend? Like, whoa, that's against gays and stuff like that." And or like one time after
something to consider, but you know.
Yeah, well, or like one time when he said, I remember when he had like that fight in the press conference with Lennox Lewis, and he went off that tangent saying, you know, "I'll fuck you till you love me, and I'll fuck you in the ass, you know, you bitch," and all that stuff. When he went crazy, you know, guys would be like, "Oh my god, he's so crazy! What an animal! He's a pig." You know, or like the other time when he after that fight with Francis Botha, like because he tried to break Francis Botha's arm, and the reporter said like, "Well, he tried to break his arm," and Mike went, "Yeah, you know, he got rough with me, I got rough back," and he was talking more than I was. He was doing a whole lot of talking, saying nasty things, and the reporter said, "Well, what did you say back to him?" And Mike said, "I said, white boy, I'm gonna fucking kill you." Yeah,
right.
But they wouldn't accept that.
Right, exactly. Nowadays, I don't know, but yeah, funny thing that you bring up him saying fucking him and stuff. I'm gonna. We talked at one point about naked combat, which is a porn version of fighting, and I'm gonna bring that up again. That I don't know. It's that I think I think as the parts of us that like this type of stuff, that like this trash talking, it's also there to be eroticized. And in the naked combat that I watch, there's both of the guys talking shit about the other guy, and in this case it's actually real. They actually literally are gonna fuck him if they win. So there's that. So I think it just speaks to that we do sort of want that, and there is that drive. And yeah, like I said, I mean, the fact that I don't think we should do it like as much in life, it doesn't mean that I don't think we should do it in sports. I think sports is an outlet for that. Just like this type of porn is an outlet for that. Maybe all type of porn is an outlet for that.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, the thing is, combat sports it's not a gentleman's sport. Okay, it's not. There's some gentlemen in there. There's some that are act professional. Some quote unquote professional, and they they carry themselves with class and stuff. But when you're going out there trying to rip somebody's head off, male versus male or female versus female, it's not a time for class. It's just not.
Right. One of my Spanish teachers back in high school, he said something I still think is apropos. He said, if you're gonna fight, what was it? If you're gonna fight and you're not gonna go all the way, then like don't do it. But if you are gonna fight, then don't say that someone broke the rules. If it's really down and dirty, like there are no rules, that type of thing.
Oh yeah, and my thing on fighting is because I do also believe in sportsmanship. A little old school.
I was gonna say boxing used to be very sportsmanlike as well.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes I don't know. Maybe we should go back to that a little bit. The glove slap to a duel, whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, they still do the shake hands, before the bell rings and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
But my thing on fighting is this: fight now, shake hands later. It's like come on, we're not at church, people. At church you can sing a song and say peace be with you, but when you're in the ring, you're trying to rip each other's heads off.
Right.
Same thing with women fighters. Like if, for example, my social worker, Louise Hogan over at BCIL. Hi, Louise. I mean, if Louise was fighting Ronda Rousey, I mean, she's not going to be thinking, "Ooh, I better act very ladylike."
Right.
When she gets in the octagon with her, she's thinking, "Geez, I better kick this bitch's ass before, or else I'm going to wind up eating cereal through a straw."
Right. Totally.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, granted, in real life, Ronda would kick her ass, but
right, totally.
Yeah.
It's also funny that like I think that like our obsession with sportsmanship or politeness does go too far. Also, in that I think there's been a lot of talk of women's tennis, and there was a lot of talk about like the grunting and stuff like that. I think that's actually. Not only is that kind of ridiculous to say that they shouldn't do those things, but it's actually also kind of sexist. Like, the women shouldn't be grunting. It's too, animalistic or whatever they say.
Yeah, if the guys can grunt, they can. Girls can grunt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Listen, if you want a gentleman sport, go watch tennis. Go watch go watch golf.
Mm-hmm.
Those are gentleman sports, okay?
Right.
Baseball kind of used to be a gentleman sport, but now it sort of isn't because, like, you got the, the spitting and the swearing, even fans cursing.
Yeah, totally.
In the audience. Trust me, I've been to Fenway Park dozens. Yeah, I've been to Fenway Park twice.
One of the Yankees guys said that it's the only major league stadium where you can hear everyone cursing at you from the stands.
Yeah, exactly. But when you're watching boxing, kickboxing, mixed martial arts, it's not. Don't expect anything gentleman about it. Mm-hmm. It's blood, sweat, bruises, and people leaving on stretchers. Sorry, folks.
Right. Right.
And also, I think one of the presidents of the United States of America, I forget who said this, but he said it best. You can't stand the heat, better get out of the kitchen. So, what's your rant of the day?
All right, so yeah, my rant of the day is I had mentioned at one point I think our first video podcast I talked about Star Trek and their sort of take on violence. So I'm gonna go a little bit more into that. I always look for an opportunity to bring in Star Trek. So I think that that it shows a really good picture of what the future could be, and that there could be space for all of these things. There can be space for politeness, diplomacy. In fact, that's what the Federation is about, for the most part. But there's also there's this point. I'm watching Voyager right now, which some of you might not be familiar with, but it's one I didn't really know about, but it's awesome. And one of the things that happens is they get onto this. They go past this planet, and two of their own are abducted to become fighters. Actually, in fact, there's death matches. And 7 of 9 is a former drone.
Oh yeah, 7 of 9, Jerry.
Yeah,
Jerry
exactly.
Ryan.
I was about to say he was really interested because it's played by Jerry Ryan. She's very beautiful. Anyway, she's a former drone of the Borg and whatnot. So she has a lot of abilities that humans don't, usually like mental and technological. But in this case, they abduct her because she also can make herself stronger physically. She usually doesn't, but they decide to make her do it. It's a funny thing that this whole planetary system has their main attraction is this fighting, and it's really brutal. It's probably more brutal than even MMA and stuff like that, and then also a lot of cultures in Star Trek still have fights to the death. So the funny thing about that is that that exists, and especially for Klingons, and other such races, that's pretty much all they do. Hirogen, as well, is another race. They call themselves hunters. They're there to hunt other people. These races, that's like all they do, and yet, when the Federation gets involved, or when other circumstances happen, they're basically sort of brought face to face with other realities, and usually have to find some way to stop the violence. But it doesn't mean that the whole idea of their culture or of the violence is completely eradicated. It never is. And that's one of the most interesting things about it. That even way into the future, I think we sort of both fear the future and idolize it. And sometimes I even get into this thinking, like, oh, in the future it will be complete diplomacy and no violence. And though I think we should be a lot more diplomatic, and I think the Vulcans are onto something in that, in controlling our emotions and trying to be better people. I think that's not true at all. We are not going to eradicate the idea of violence, and so we should have outlets. I said before, outlets. And another episode of Voyager is actually about this as well. There's a society that has actually outlawed any violent thought. And the crazy thing with this, that happens with this society, is that B'Elanna, she's half Klingon and half human, and she, someone steps on her foot. They're in the marketplace. Someone steps on her foot, and she, for the split second, wants to hit him. And what they think happens is that causes a chain reaction of other people getting violent thoughts and wanting to kill each other. And anyway, they want to, get her out of there. They want to arrest her. They do arrest her. They want to put her in jail. And even though the Federation accepts other cultures and tries to follow their laws, this is a very hard one for them to follow, and so they're trying to defend B'Elanna. But anyway, what it turns out is that that guy stepped on her foot on purpose, and that there's another guy that is right there to catch her. And what happens is that he actually tries to. What they don't know is that this guy of this society that is outlawed violent thought actually wants to extract her violent thought and sell it on the black market. So even though even the most, what seems like the most evolved society, that their stated mission is to be at peace with each other and whatever, they have this whole underbelly of people selling violent thoughts to each other. And so basically the Federation has to expose this. And what he tells the chancellor of this society, the one policewoman left, is you have a much bigger problem than a passing alien having a violent thought. People are hungry for it, and you have not eradicated violent thought. You've just pushed it underground.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of where we're going. If we push this whole thing of cooperation and whatnot, if we push it too far and not dancing in the end zone and whatever else, not trash talking, if we push that too far, then we're actually going in the direction of this society where we're just pushing violence underground. And I think that's far worse than having an arena for us to enjoy violence.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that kind of happened in the early days of mixed martial arts, because after around towards the end of 1996, the witch hunt by John McCain on the early days of the UFC and stuff,
right.
It started, and the UFC was kind of taking off worldwide pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was getting to the point where they were in small little redneck places. They were in Lake House, Louisiana, and Dothan, Alabama, and these small venues like Magic Casino and
right.
and stuff like that. And because of the whole thing of mixed martial arts, it was there became some underground fights, and
right.
They would have fights at these kind of and even when UFC was in the process of changing, and mixed martial arts period was
right.
was changing, with the gloves and the and the rounds and stuff. It was still sort of underground, and they would have fights in bike at biker rallies, and there were times when if the cops, and also on Indian reservations too, and if the cops came, they would have to shut it down and stuff like that, running away from the cops.
Right.
So I definitely get that part of it. And underground, fights and stuff. I mean that kind of stuff may work in the 80s, with the movies and stuff,
right.
the Lion Hearts, and they still do movies like that to this day.
Yeah.
But I hope it doesn't go that way. Because I love fighting sports and stuff like that, but
definitely.
Underground street fights and stuff. It may look good in the movies, but in real life, it kind of makes certain sports look bad. They still do that bare knuckle boxing, especially in England too. And you can look it up on YouTube. There's a video of bare knuckle boxing on Vice and stuff like that. And that's why thank God for New Jersey for regulating it, and then later on Las Vegas and other states, and
right.
and stuff like that. Granted, we mixed martial arts still has a long way to go to get regulated in New York and have it legal in New York. But but other than that, it's still it's still very good, and because the last thing you want is underground fights,
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
I
You
agree.
don't want people getting hurt, and
Mhm.
you know,
And there's
um,
no way to protect them underground. Like,
yeah,
you know.
there's no doctors, there's
Hmm.
no people looking over, there's no judges or
Right.
anything like that, and
Exactly.
you got guys who are, you know, breaking their hands and stuff like that, and no
Hmm.
proper training, and they can't train for a certain opponent and stuff
Right.
like that.
Totally.
You can't have that.
Hmm. I don't think we should have complete underground fights and like nothing else. But yeah, I mean, I also don't think we should like all have to fight in society as well. I mean, that's the other side of the coin, another problem.
Well, yeah, because when you fight in the ring or the cage, you get paid.
Yeah, exactly.
You get the money.
Hmm.
If you fight, I mean, unless you're like trying to protect your family or friends or your loved ones, of course, kick the motherfucker's ass.
Exactly.
But if you fight out there in the streets, even if it's mutual and it's agreed upon by both parties, that's gonna land you in jail.
Hmm.
And then a guy named Bubba is gonna wind up putting a dick in your ass.
Yeah, not to make the prison stuff more homophobic, but
Oh, okay.
that's true. That is probably true. But yeah, no, I mean, like, I don't know, and so yeah, I think we have to find some balance there. One of the interesting things that I mentioned the Hirogen in Star Trek. They're hunters. They want they're not there to like Klingons are there to fight, and like even if they have if they have a weaker enemy, all the better. Hirogen want their prey to be really smart and cunning. They want to have a really smart challenge on their hands. And one of the episodes is where Hirogen want to use holodeck technology, where you can create a simulated environment. On the Starfleet vessels, there's safety protocols on, which means you don't actually get hurt by these simulations. But the Hirogen want to make their own holodecks without safety protocols, so that they can actually have a society that's not completely based on going everywhere in the galaxy and hunting everyone, till there's no one left to hunt. And so he's trying to make a transition from the exact opposite of the underground fighting, the type of society where everyone has to fight or has to be a hunter. This Hirogen leader is trying to say, if we have holodecks without the safety, then we can stay in one place and we can still have our hunting scenarios, and we can still basically kill the motherfuckers, but also have space to build something in our society.
Yeah, exactly. And also, fighting. I mean, and of course nowadays, of course fighting. When you go to a gym and you learn how to, or a dojo and you learn how to fight,
Mm-hmm.
it teaches you grit and also teaches you also to defend yourself. I mean, there's
Yes.
like you got white collar guys who work in like businesses and stuff like that, learning how to box, and even with kickboxing. I mean,
Yeah,
doesn't mean
I learned kickboxing. I learned karate back when I was very young.
yeah, exactly. I mean, of course. I mean, well, I probably shouldn't say this because I don't know how good you were back in the day. But I mean, I'm sure you weren't gonna just because you took karate and kickboxing. I mean, I couldn't see you like fighting Buakaw or Benny, or even back in our days. Going, the time when you were taking kickboxing karate. It's not like you were gonna fight Dennis Alexio or Benny the Jet Yakitas or Don the Dragon Wilson.
Right.
Because those guys would blast you.
Right.
But you would learn to defend yourself, and if anybody, try to mess with you, you would fuck them up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And it teaches you grit, and it teaches you, how to work hard, and
yeah, it's also about discipline. It's another form of discipline, which is actually very good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And and plus. Exactly. What I'm saying, because it goes back to my little rant on the pussification of America. It's like like there are some you can't have the everybody gets a trophy, everybody becomes a winner and stuff like that, because not everybody can do that, and those who don't wind up with a trophy and those who don't wind up being great, that's just a sign that maybe you got to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same thing with like when you watch American Idol, you watch those tryouts, which oh god is a nightmare. I cannot watch those things. People singing badly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like you watch the guy singing, you're like, okay, you're not gonna, you know, the man and girl singing. It's like, okay, you're not gonna be the next Shakira, or you're not gonna be, you know, selling out arenas with Jay-Z. So that means, you know, you just gotta go on and do something else.
Right. Exactly. So yeah. I mean, that's right. I think that there is. That's the other thing, is that when there's space for fighting and people are very good at it, and some people of us aren't, you know, and there's always space for something else, you know, and that's the good thing about those shows. I think American Idol and like all the new talent, you know, reality shows, you know, there's now the talent cooking shows and whatnot, like all those things. They're actually showing that there is a space for all these other stuff. There's a space for anything you could excel in. You know, you just have to find it.
But also, one thing I was just thinking about this now. This is probably the alcohol talking. But if in those days when you were like when you were training in karate and then you later on went on to kickboxing, in your younger days, would you have thought about maybe fighting professionally or?
I don't think I would, just because my teacher was one of those that said that you'd have to work really hard and go by the books and blah blah blah. So maybe not by the books, but yeah, just the idea of all that hard work and physical hard work.
Oh, you mean like the strength and conditioning? And,
yeah, exactly.
You know, like lifting weights and running at 5 o'clock in the morning. And
yeah, exactly.
That
That type of stuff, I think I was less up for than even the fighting itself.
Yeah, but what about taking blows, like hitting? Like, were you the type of person that didn't like getting hit, that was afraid of getting hit?
I would say that I was afraid of getting hit. Yes. I talked in another podcast about how I've never quite felt the same after I got punched in the nose, and I think that will stay with me, because it taught me that I can take a punch and that I don't have to be afraid of being hit. But yeah, up until that point, I might have completely shied away from something that I shouldn't shy away from if I'm in an actual tussle for my life.
Oh, so because so you had a good chin, right? You said you had a good chin, or like you could take a punch, or
I guess I could, yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe you would. Yeah, because that's the other thing when you're training in there, you know, you're training in that sort of thing, especially with boxing. You know, you're like, you know, do I really want to keep doing this because of also brain damage and stuff like that?
Right.
You know, so I mean, so I guess fighting Bane the Jet or some kickboxer from Thailand, you know, was not in your future.
Right. No, I would not say that.
But if you and I were to fight, I'm pretty sure you would. Well, I know you're probably a little rusty, but I'm sure you still know enough where you could kick my ass.
Right. Yeah,
exactly.
I do think I could. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Trust me, guys. You may be gay, but you know what? He'll kick. He'll be the toughest gay man you've ever fought in your life.
Cheers to that.
Exactly.
All right.
So we're gonna
wrap up. Then.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here, and tune in next time, probably next week when we do the show. Also, happy Valentine's Day for you guys out there.
Exactly.
No Valentine's Day for me because of the weather here in Boston. So no 50 Shades of Grey. So it's just gonna be me and my hand tonight.
All right.
From Beantown to your town. This is the Beantown Beatdown. I'm Matthew Burris, along with Gabe Shamus.
Gabe Shamus.
Vayos con Dios.